Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the AV Experience. Last time, you guys mentioned that you wanted us to do a entry video, and I didn't do it again. So, we got to keep these rolling of Ryan thinking he's going to do something and then not remembering he's going to do that one thing until he hits the go live button and it sees the 3, 2, 1 countdown timer. And I told Jonathan before, watch me screw this one up
You
again.
did
And I did.
fine. You did fine.
I didn't remember the intro video.
That's okay.
I'm doing that. I'm going to do that tomorrow.
It'll all work
At
out.
some point. Oh, how have you been? You've been busy.
I have. I was doing some work at a church camp this weekend and have some sun on my face, a little sunburn. It was a nice trip. We tore down 3 bunk houses and we started building a shed for them today. We had 21 men there, so it was kind of like a Amish barn raising, so to speak. It seemed like we were really working good.
Amish barn raising.
Just in the sense of how fast things were getting done. I mean, we made a lot of progress because there's so many men there.
That's good.
I'm not Amish, obviously.
Well, I think it was a good analogy. I mean, I've seen the videos and stuff of those things going up. Barn
flat.
goes up in like a day. They're taking a lunch break and the roof's on. Like, what else do you have to do?
Yeah.
And they're done, but there's like 500 of them.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen those videos even where they're walking the barn to a different location?
Yes!
They built it. They have all the men underneath the support of the outside of the frame, and it's wild.
I see guys, construction companies using these big trucks and stuff. I'm like, just call the Amish. They would do it for you. Like, it'd be more effective, more precision, and be done.
Yeah.
It's quite impressive. And that wasn't like making fun of it. It's
not at all
downright impressive. Like, it is.
Now everyone's furiously Googling Amish barn raising because they probably haven't seen it. How did I go down this rabbit hole?
I don't know. Well, that's where it's. I look like I'm HDR. I'm not. It's just my lighting. I have one light on because I have another light that decides that it doesn't want to respond half the time for unknown reasons. And I have a MacBook Pro that decides sometimes it wants to use all of its USB capability or Thunderbolt, and sometimes it decides it doesn't. Granted, I am pushing the USB interfaces and Thunderbolt interfaces on that thing to its limit for how many USB devices are on here for a MacBook and my docking station and stuff, so I got to give it credit. But did you see the stuff for the new MacBooks?
No.
Man.
I don't follow Mac.
The M4, the new processor, just came out. It just got announced. It just hit Cinebench. It is the fastest single core processor ever in the residential side. Yep. Ekes out that it beats the new Intels, beats the new AMDs. Like it's pretty impressive. It's like a 50% supposedly increase over the previous generations, which is fantastic. I mean, seeing those gains it's nice. And
they're not using a CISC processor though, right? Like the complex instruction set. Aren't they using like an ARM or a RISC-based processor?
No, it's ARM.
Yeah.
Because they went from Intel late teens to ARM, and there's been some headaches because there's some architectures, like one of the things that I run into problems with is with my calibration gear. The calibration gear doesn't work on Mac. And then you can run things in parallels, but because it's not Intel based anymore, so it's not AMD or anything, it is now ARM. The Windows installation, some equipment does not work with ARM installations of Windows. So that's one of the big hangups. So now I have I have a Windows laptop for Control4 for programming and RTI and video calibration and stuff because the meters and stuff just don't work, unfortunately. So I have a $300 laptop just for that. Yay. But everything else, the MacBook's great. Enough about that, though. So you did church stuff, Amish barn raising. What did I do? I got a visualizer working in the theater. So I was very happy.
Was that you? You sent me a random video of that's EQ
what that is
thing, and I didn't even know what it was.
So I got there's a server in my networking cabinet that is now running Rune. So it's my Rune server, and it's also a Rune player. And I'm just using Wallpaper Engine. So Wallpaper Engine has some things where you can just add to wallpapers visualizers. And I know there's other ways to do this, but I've used this in the past. And it'll take any output from that particular server and just put it on the visualizer. So now that server is going into my matrix, and the matrix is coming into the theater, and I can use it as an output. So eventually it'll go into a multi-viewer, which I haven't installed yet, but the multi-viewer I can put in like the bottom right corner, kind of like picture in a picture. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing, Bob was over here today and he helped me run some cable. I'm hiding a calibration microphone in the theater so that we can pull up Smart's acoustic analysis on everything in real time. So we can see exactly what is being played and the frequencies that are coming into the theater and what we're actually hearing. And we can overlay that onto the screen. So that's been my day, aside from doing some electrical and some outlet stuff. And then what did we do today? Oh, we had lunch with Grandma and Grandpa. So I did that this morning, and then
that's neat.
Then I did that, and then tomorrow is all sports. So that's been...
Your Grandma and Grandpa are still alive, huh?
Several are. So I've got... Today was my wife's grandfather and grandmother on her dad's side. So I've got a lot of grandparents that are still alive. Several that are in their 90s.
That's good.
Well, it's good.
Mine have all passed on, and I miss them. Not to make this podcast that way, but yeah, they're special to me.
Yeah, I feel.
I'm glad you're taking advantage of the time you have.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. But on today's topic, did you make it?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not as thorough as yours was. I know you worked.
I don't know,
but I had some in the back of my head of things that I was already kind of on track for. So it was just kind of like finding current prices, which, man, I didn't realize prices had gone up so much since last time I looked for like projector screens. I couldn't find any AT projector screen for less than like $500, even on Amazon.
Oh, you went projector?
For the home theater thing. That's what I wanted to do. But mercy, like, why did those go so high? They used to be able to get an entry one for $300, $350.
Yeah.
Times have changed in just a short period of time.
So I think we start with, let's talk about each component.
Sure. So I kind of made two lists just for that reference. I don't know if you did or not, but we had talked about a living room system, kind of primarily, and then a home theater thing. I just kind of made two lists.
Oh, I didn't make two lists.
Do you have a mostly living room focus?
Yes.
Okay.
But I mean, you could easily change it. I mean, it's not something that you would have a hard time changing. But let's talk about each component. So to
pardon me,
talk about these lists, Jonathan and I thought about all week a $5,000 home theater, right? What would we do for $5,000? Just for equipment, not for cables, not for furniture, not for anything. It was displays, processors, and speakers is what we focused on. And if you had a projector that needed a screen, you would need that as well. But that's what we did. So one of the contingencies, though, was an open floor plan. So it was like a living room, right? Because we figured for that price point, it's probably going to be more of a multi-purpose room, living room, media space in a basement, something like that. And that's where we went. So that meant not really any good locations for surround speakers because it was going to open back up. We didn't set any stipulations on ceiling height. That's where we were. So everything else was open from that point. So it'll be interesting. You evidently went projector. I did not.
Not for the living room system.
Not for the living room. Okay.
And my system didn't hit $5,000, and I'll explain that when we get into that. But go ahead. You want to start talking individual?
Let's start
pieces?
with the display. Yeah, let's start with the displays, and I think we can talk about the home theater and the living room system simultaneously. I don't think we need to separate them. So let's do both. So I went with the Sony X90L in a 65-inch because you could theoretically skimp and do a bigger TV. Absolutely. There's some LGs. You can get an 85 for like $1,000 or something like that. And I think doing this TV, it actually put me, and I did no sale prices. So these
I
are
didn't either.
all like
Right.
MSRP. And so actually at MSRP, I'm $300 over. But I grappled with that and said, well, if you did sale prices on any of this, you would be easily under. So that was where I went. X90L 65 inch. I felt like that was one of the best bang for your buck displays that you could do for a TV. It's not an OLED, but you're going to get it great picture quality, great fidelity. You're going to be able to use it for virtually everything. And if you wanted something bigger, you're just going to have to compromise on quality, unfortunately. Or if you wanted to do something like an OLED, I think you could get OLEDs on sale under $1,500, probably
For the
the
newest
65.
one.
Yeah, for a B
65.
series.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
No, for a C series even.
Well, I meant under 65 because I think the C's go for like 65, 64 something.
I
And
I
then
mean, I just looked that up just now on Amazon. The C4, the C4, not the G, but the C4 is $1,400 for a 65.
oh my gosh.
And that's actually what I
What?
was recommending on mine. So yeah, on Amazon.
Okay. All right. Well,
So
what'd
what
you
size
choose?
that Sony? You said it's an
65.
XL 65. Okay. And what's the price on it?
Not on sale. I think it's like $1,200 or $1,300.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, well, would you change your knowing that it's $1,400 for OLED? Would you change your vote to an OLED, or do you still stick with the Sony?
No, if I could do an OLED for a little bit more, I'd absolutely like. If that meant me saving just a little bit more to do that, no brainer. I mean,
Yeah. I
once
mean,
you
that's where my
experience
head's at, too.
OLED and plasma, there's no going back.
Yeah, there really isn't, because I have like
No.
a mini QLED that I saw in the store. It was on a good sale at Costco in my living room, and I thought, this is close enough. It's the living room. Who cares? It's
It's not.
disappointing every time it's nighttime and you're watching something and the local dimming isn't working quite as right, and
Mhm.
it's just not OLED. And it's once I'm using OLED right now talking to you here.
I am too.
Once you're on OLED, you just don't want to depart.
Nope. The flight sim back there, that's an OLED. Bedroom's OLED. Living room's OLED. The only display that's really not an OLED is my kids' stuff and then the theater.
Sheldon had the same experience. He put it off for years and years. He bought an OLED, and then all of a sudden he replaced all the TVs in his house, like his bedroom TV even is like an OLED.
Nope.
Yeah, it's just what happens.
It's very true. And it unfortunately can ruin you on oh, there it goes. There's the other display. Good golly, that is bright. It can ruin you in your projected environments, right? So I think we've talked about this before,
Yeah.
where if you do something like this and you're used to OLED displays and you do something with not a great contrast, it is much, much easier to see. Like much easier to see.
Yep.
So let me see if I can turn this light down. You gonna turn down light? Or are you gonna sit at 3% and not go any lower?
Should we kind of interject questions that are applicable? as we come
Absolutely,
through, or
yes,
should we wait
for
till the
sure.
end?
No, let's interject them if they're
So
appropriate.
this gentleman, Well World, says Hisense or TCL would be one of my displays. What's your opinion on that, Ryan? I have my own opinion on that. We don't want to badmouth anything, but we have our opinions, and that's what we're sharing with you.
So I think it comes down to compromise, is my opinion.
Like would you consider compromise? Would you consider a 100-inch Hisense or TCL instead of a 65 or 75-inch OLED?
No,
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. Not even close.
I'd just sit closer.
Yeah.
Potentially.
They're like that much better, Will World.
It ain't worth it.
And if you see it in the store, you probably don't. If you haven't seen one at home, like in front of you at night, you probably wouldn't even know that that's really true. But when you sit in front of it at night with a darked out room, man, it's something special. It's like my brother, when he saw an OLED for the first time, because a lot of people still even today don't, even people who have the means to buy them don't necessarily know how good they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 years ago or so, my brother came over and saw an OLED for the first time in a home environment. He'd seen them at stores or whatever. He thought they looked good, but maybe not worth the money. He came over and he said, that is a better mousetrap. He said, like, that's the first time that I've seen a TV that just really knocks my socks off type thing, you know? So like OLEDs have been around for a decade, but people don't necessarily know how good they are until they've had them in their own home.
So Kevin brings up a point of OLED ABL dimming is annoying and worth mentioning. Anytime there's a bright flash or something, everything but that dims down and then comes back on when the bright area is gone. Have you noticed that? Are
Yeah,
you
in
sensitive to
gaming.
that?
But you can reduce some of it. You can buy a service remote off of like eBay for like $7, and you can turn some of that stuff off, Kevin. I don't know if you've explored that or not, but there's a service menu that you cannot get into with your factory remote, the one that comes with your OLED. It won't let you in. But you get this little eBay remote, and you push some sort of like code combination, and it lets you into the factory service menu, and you can disable like the auto dimming. You can disable some of the economy type functions that are supposed to help protect your display. And if you use your display like with the intent, no, it's OLED and so forth. I have no zero burn in and so forth. My display is now probably 3 years old or so, so it's not like you're going to wreck your TV. You will void your warranty potentially by doing that stuff, but because they're not supposed to be able to get into it. But there's all kinds of guides out there and walkthroughs, and it's worth doing.
I have had zero burn in on any of
Right.
my OLEDs. None. And I've had, not going back way back, but I've had a B7, B9, C10, C2, C3, G3, and a G4.
That's wild, Ryan. I was late to the party. The C2 is my first one, and it's so good I haven't even felt the need to upgrade at all.
Zero. Well, I
Like
mean, a
it
big
like
reason
stopped
for
me.
that though is because I'm a dealer and I have to rotate stuff. So that's part of it. Don't think that I'm just some like, oh, I gotta have the newest, better. It's dealers. The vendor needs you or wants you to get the new thing, and then I sell off the other one. It's part of that game, and unfortunately, it's something that has to be done. But that one back there, that's a B10, and it's been cruising on. I'd like it to be a little bit brighter, but it does phenomenally for flight sim. And the nice thing about it for flight sim is since OLED can go full black on some of the aircraft spotting at really far distances, it's a lot easier to spot a full black pixel than it is something that's gray that blends into the color.
Hmm.
So that's nice. I got that going for me. And then the two C3s are my desktop monitors, but no burn-in. You use an OLED for your desktop monitor.
It is. And
No
I've had
burn-in.
zero burn in, none
None.
whatsoever. Not even like any. There's been nothing wrong with the display. It's so good that I don't even like. It made my upgrade fever as far as monitors stop full cold. And I've been upgrading monitors so often over the course of my
Oh,
last 20 years because I'm in IT. You just buy the newest flavor every year or so, and sell off the old. Sometimes I'd buy 3 monitors at once, and I'd keep the one that I wanted. And this is like so much better than what I've had in the past, that for 3 years I've
mhm.
kept this and not even been shopping. It's
I
so good
remember
I
when you
don't even
bought it.
shop.
I remember when you bought it.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Tim's in the chat and he's kind of teasing. Remember when Jonathan didn't like OLEDs?
I remember.
I thought they looked good in the store. I mean, I was one of these. I'm talking to you guys because I was one of those people too. I like, yeah, that looks great in the store, but you're in a full room with all kinds of like fluorescent lights. You have no idea what it looks like at night, and when it goes night, I'll give you this story. This will tell you just exactly how cool it is if you haven't seen an OLED in person at night in a room. My daughter comes walking down the stairs, and I'm watching those OLED demos that LG puts out, and one of them, at the very time, it was actually like a Vegas demo they had, and in that video, there's like a horse statue with lights on it or something, and
Mhm.
it's so black on the screen. My daughter comes down the stairs, and I just got this monitor. I just set it up. I was just playing with it. She's like, "Dad, why did you buy that horse statue? What are you doing with that horse statue?" And I'm like, "It's not. It's not a horse statue. It's an image on a TV. Can you believe this?" And she was blown away. She thought it was a physical statue on the desk because the room was completely blacked out, and it was like so perfect. That was
Mhm.
you could not see a pixel anywhere except for the statue itself that was glowing brilliantly.
The only
Amazing.
thing that it bothers me about my TVs using them as monitors is I don't have the auto dimming turned on. So sometimes if nothing moves, they'll dim to prevent a little
You
bit
can
more
turn that
burn-in.
off with this
Yeah,
remote, and
I
it's
just
worth it.
haven't done it. I
Do
need
it.
to.
Yes. In
I
fact,
need
if you don't
to.
have one of these remotes, next time I come over, I'll bring it over and we'll change your TVs.
Okay. We'll do that.
Yeah.
That would be good. Let's do that. Let's create burn-in.
I have had no burn
I'm
in, and
just
I did
kidding.
it when I first got it.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. So I would absolutely, this is, I think, what a lot of this conversation is going to be is stepping up a little bit to what we think is more appropriate. Because I would absolutely do that from an X90L to an OLED, even if it meant going to like a B series OLED. I don't have a problem with the B series. I have a few of them. I wouldn't have an issue with that. They're still phenomenal.
Did
No.
B series get 120 hertz, or depends on
Yes.
what you're using it for?
That
Yes.
one does.
Okay.
The B10 does. They've had it for a while, unless
Okay.
they took it away.
I doubt they
Okay.
took it away. I just think initially, like the A and B maybe didn't have 120.
They didn't
in the early
but
days.
the B10 does.
Okay.
Okay. AVR. What'd you do?
So in the living room system, I went with an SVS sound base, and I think you could substitute that pretty easily for a Denon or an Onkyo 2-channel.
You did
I'm
a
not gonna get mad.
what?
A SVS sound base, because I'm just going to the 2-channel system in the living room.
Oh, you.
I'm just saying what I would do.
All right.
Like
thought
that's kind of
about
why I went with
this.
the more dedicated home theater as well. So I have the second option. But in this,
Okay.
it's just a 2-channel. There's no it's a SVS sound base, and we saw those at M-Wave a couple years, and I was really impressed with them. Like they're a nice little unit. All kinds of mobile functionality, integrates with your AirPlay or your Chromecast. Like nice looking little unit, 150 watts per channel. Small, sharp looking. Like some of this stuff, I don't know that I would necessarily buy because it's more expensive than I would spend. $500. It's kind of expensive, but it aesthetically is pleasing. Like it looks like a nice little classy unit. And so a lot of my living room stuff is like kind of classy, nice, upscale things that your wife will not have trouble with, and maybe more expensive than what I would typically spend, but nice little things. So we might have diverged different ways. What'd you pick for your receiver, Ryan?
Before I. Well, now I feel like I need to go your route too and make
No,
something
don't.
up.
You don't have to change anything.
Well, I do. I want to, because I think that's an interesting. He did. You went with the C series OLED, right? That was
Yes.
your TV. Okay.
Yeah.
He went with a C series OLED, Stitch. He did choose. What I chose was a Denon S670.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's a 5.2 channel, has Odyssey, has Hios,
Mm-hmm.
just entry level, no Atmos, 5.2 capable, 5.1 AVR. That's what I chose. If I went your direction and did 2-channel, I'd agree with you. Something like the SVS, a Sonos amp, or a Blue Sound Power Node would be the direction I would go. They all support ARC. They all support CEC. They all have the ability to do, like, I think they do. I read something today that maybe Blue Sound doesn't anymore, but like Tidal Connect, Spotify Connect, all that kind of stuff. So that would be the direction I would go for a 2-channel setup if I was just doing the 2-channel with the sub. So now,
Yeah. So for me in the basement or in the dedicated
your
room,
basement. Yeah,
I would
yeah.
probably choose, and I'm gonna cheat a little bit here because they're not always on sale, but they go on sale often enough you can find one. Either the Onkyo TX RZ50, which is a Dirac enabled receiver, it's 11 channels, does great, or the Denon X3800.
Yeah.
And they're both on and off sale for $1,000.
Yeah, I agree. I just didn't do the sales. So I
And
agree that
I
if
did
you
it for the
could,
others, but for that one, it's so repetitive that if you see it for 1,400 or whatever, just wait, a month, and you'll probably find it on sale.
I think Massimo may be cracking down on that a bit more. I don't
You
know
think it's
how
dying
they
out?
would. I can say that I don't know how they were doing that. That's something was going on with that. I don't know how they were doing that, but I think Massimo may be cracking down on that a bit. I mean, maybe something will come back, because I think there was one recently, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, if you go look at Slick Deals and you kind of look at the history, it's just on and off again constantly.
I guess that's true.
And the Onkyo more normally is, you can get that in the kind of 1,000, 1,100 range
Yeah.
all the time, kind of. So you're
Yeah.
okay either way, and both those are great options in my opinion. I mean, I've been around both of them and like them.
I agree. Both great systems. The S670 is definitely going to be way more limited than something like that RZ50 or the X3800H. I mean, those give you tremendously more flexibility. The 3800 has a much better version of Odyssey than the, because it's X32. right? In
Yes.
the
Oh yeah,
670
for
has
sure. I
an
mean, it's fully
entry level
featured.
version,
Yeah.
and then the RZ50 has Dirac.
Hmm.
It's just Dirac. It's
It's the
not.
watered down version. That's
Yeah,
just. It's. I don't think it's like the full bass, but
no,
it's still
it's
Dirac, and
does well.
people still enjoy it.
Sheldon's liked it
Yep.
when he had it, so can't fault him for that. It's a good system for the money. Okay, good selections. LCRs, or in your case, for your living room. And
For the living room, I mean, I've mentioned it before in the podcast. I really like the Wharfdale Diamond series. They're not very expensive. It's $600 for a pair of speakers, and they're
mhm.
not reference capable. So don't even. I mean, that pains me a little bit to make that recommendation. But this is for me. It's a
Yeah.
living room system, and they're a pretty speaker as far as speakers go. I mean, it's not anything. It's subtle. It's not doesn't draw attention to itself. With the grill on, it just looks like a
Mhm.
black speaker, and they sound good. And they're in it. I mean, they're relatively inexpensive. That's one of they kind of pride themselves on audiophile on the cheap type stuff.
So what price point are you at right now? You've got
I mean, that living room system is only $3,200.
oh, so you went
I mean,
okay.
I just went for like classy looking that my wife upstairs, Megan, would be okay with. You know, like not anything.
Mhm.
She doesn't want a big giant subwoofer box. She doesn't want big giant speakers. Like she wants. Like I was thinking when you said living room system, I was thinking something that has the wife acceptance factor.
I agree. I'm just thinking of things that I've done in the past, and I didn't do that. So
And so a lot of my stuff ends up on this list being SVS. So if you want to substitute the Wharfdale Diamonds in for like the SVS Prime or Pinnacle type
Mhm.
bookshelves, go for it. That's fine if you want to keep all in the house type stuff.
Okay. So what I did for my LCRs, and I think this is a common theme. I compromised here on SPL capability for fidelity that I like, right? So
Hmm.
I'm doing things that I like the sound of. This is
Hmm.
stuff that I've experienced. This is stuff that I have used and would use. So the
Hmm.
LCRs that I chose, initially I thought about the Martin Logan B100s,
Hmm.
which are the new version of, well, it's not. It's the same version. The B100 is what we used at M-Wave 23 that did amazingly well. Everybody really liked it in the blind comparison.
Hmm.
So no qualms there, but it was a little too expensive because it's $800 a piece. So I went down to the B10, which uses a little bit different ribbon than the B100. It doesn't have the limited dispersion in the vertical like the B100 does, but
Hmm.
I think it's $600 instead of $800. So I chose to do that for my LCRs, and I did left, center, right. So I did all three of those going across the front to match them.
Good.
Thought about doing a center, but I'm like, no, we're just going to do the B10 all the way across the front. If I
I
were
like
doing
that.
if I were doing something like you are doing in the living room, I'd
Like a
probably
little
do the
2 channel
same thing.
bookshelf, same thing,
Yeah, I'd
B10s.
probably do the
Or would you
same
go to the
thing.
B100s?
I mean, if I could spend a little bit more, yeah, probably, but you'd have to listen to them both and see if fidelically you gained anything. I mean, for you, well, I guess you do because the limited dispersion does help in room reflections, in having to treat the room in a living room. I think that can be beneficial. Now, MW is calling us out and says, come on, guys, LS50, cheap, audiophile, concentric, good size, wipe acceptance. So the thing with that, I don't really like the way this speaker sounds.
I don't either. And
That doesn't.
at this point, we'll make the disclaimer that you could put five guys in a room and listen to five different bookshelves, and you might not have the same favorite. And we've seen that.
Oh,
We've
yeah,
seen that plenty of
absolutely.
times.
For sure. That does not mean that the LS50 is bad. I just don't like the way it sounds. That subjectively, it measures way better than the Martin Logan. The Martin Logan does not measure very well. Like you can look at the B100s on Aaron's Audio Corner. It doesn't measure very well. But you put somebody in front of it, and I've seen it happen numerous times, they're going to like the way it sounds. I mean, more
Yeah.
often than not. I can say that I just said that the LS50, I don't like the way it sounds. Some people aren't going to like the way Martin Logan sounds.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
that's fair. That just has to be acknowledged as part of this. We're not giving you a surefire, absolute best way to
no,
do this. It's just preferences.
no. And when you're getting to this level, you're making a compromise. I am making a compromise for something that I like the sound of, right? Jonathan, you're doing the same thing with the Wharfdales. You like the way the Wharfdales sound.
Mm-hmm.
And you said it yourself that those aren't going to be reference capable. The Martin
Nope.
Logans are not going to be reference capable. It ain't going to happen. You're going to run into distortion, breakup. You may blow a woofer well before you hit that. That's what I would do. If
I
I
don't
was,
ever do so on that Kef subject. I know there's
Mhm.
a lot of Kef fans, and fine. I've I personally have not. I've heard Kef speakers in several rooms. I just never have been attracted to them for whatever reason. I don't even know why. I just haven't personally. Do you have any reason why, or do you feel the same way? I mean, it sounds like you kind of do.
they've never,
They don't sing to you.
no,
No siren call. Same here.
no. I would never sit in front of a KEF system that I've
Haven't.
listened to so
Can't say
far,
would never. Yes, there you go.
Fair,
Fair.
and gotten emotional. Had an emotional response. Like I know I really like a speaker if I
You get chills.
have a reaction to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like not something I think about, if my body reacts to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I know. Because I think audio, we talk about SPL and stuff all the time, and I think that makes it sound like we don't care about fidelity and we don't care about the reproduction of everything. Audio to me is all about conveying emotion, and I want to sit in front of something that makes me feel something. If I'm not feeling something, I'm not enjoying myself with audio.
Mm-hmm.
So it's never done it for me. I know people that like KEF. The CEO of, I won't actually say what, has an all KEF system. So, and he loves it. So it's just not my thing. I don't think I like that driver, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Just not my thing. Nothing wrong with that. But B10s is what I chose. What would you do in the home theater?
Yeah. So there's a guy named Nelson who's a friend of mine and also a Kansas City enthusiast, and he has Behringer 212 XLs for his surrounds and Behringer 215 XLs for his mains for his LCR. And they are a pro audio speaker. And I saw someone in a comment, MW says, forget reference at this price point. That's not true. If you go to pro audio and you get a speaker that's decent, you can get to reference, and the Behringers will do it.
I think
sure.
the important thing is how I would phrase that is forget reference and emotional at a $5,000 price point. To me, would you say you would have an emotional feeling with those speakers?
Define emotional. Am I going to sit there and listen to like Adele and get goosebumps on my arms? No. Am I going to listen to the Hulk stomp around and get invigorated and have like my pulse
I'm
quicken
saying
and stuff?
Adele.
Absolutely.
I'm going to listen to, like, you can absolutely have fun with it and stuff and get excited, but I'm saying get chills, that kind of response. Are you going to get that out of that?
Probably not. Probably not.
Now, guys, this is subjective. We're not speaking for everybody. This is absolutely subjective. So you got to take this with a grain of salt.
So MW on this, he says, "Are you sticking PA in the living room?" No, I'm not doing that. This is for the.
He's done that though. He's done that.
Okay. But yes, as a recommendation, I'm probably not doing that. I'm saying in a dedicated theater, if you're trying to build a dedicated theater for $5,000, not a living room, this is like your own space. You can cover the speakers with speaker grill cloth or whatever else, hide them because they're ugly speakers. Those Behringers are ugly speakers. But they do reference capable. And there is a thread on ABS forum that is thousands of posts long, like a very long thread that's been going on for a decade. And they're a very popular speaker and they're diehard fans of them. And I've heard them myself. They're a very good speaker for the money. They're not like an audiophile speaker. Don't buy them thinking you're going to just be amazed by 2-channel. It's probably not what it is. It's just the fact that it's a true reference capable speaker. And like we've talked about on the show before, when you hear chains clink or a gunshot at reference capable compared to these audiophile pieces of equipment that we're talking about that are like 86 dB sensitive and probably only hit 92, 95 dB, without distortion, It's a
with a power
different
handling of
experience.
like 10 watts.
And so people who yes. And so people who haven't heard that experience before, they hear that and you're just it's like that entrance to like, wow, okay, this is
Mhm.
really cool. And they'll do that and they're inexpensive. I mean, those Behringer 212 XL, they got a 12-inch driver and they got a compression driver. They're $160. So I said, hey, I'm buying
Dang.
8 of those for $1,280 for my 11-channel system. And then I'm buying 215s at $250 a piece. This is on sale, just normal price. If you wait till holiday, you get 15% off at most of these places. A Behringer 215 at $250 a pop, so that's $750 for LCR. And that's just basically mimicking my friend's home theater setup that's really enjoyable, like quite enjoyable. You know, it's like
I knew you were going to go
that's the
that
cheapest way
direction.
I know to get into home theater as far as a
I,
Redifers
yeah.
capable system.
I find myself, I use MySpace more for 2-channel than I do for home theater. So that was,
Mm-hmm.
I have to choose something that I will enjoy for 2-channel.
Mm-hmm.
I have to. There's no way around it because that is the direction that I will go. And to clear something up, because MW is saying PA can do emotion, they absolutely can. What we're
Mm-hmm.
saying is it's very difficult, if impossible, in my personal opinion, to find a PA speaker at this price point that is
Mm-hmm.
going to be able to deliver that, because there's so many compromises that have to be made, or trade-offs that have to be made in order to get that increase in output, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's always a give and take. If you're getting everything, you're giving money, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the trade-off. So I agree with you on that choice for reference capable.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do? We didn't talk about your display for home theater.
Yeah, I mean, because we're stymied with this $5,000 price point. So this is probably going to break the rules in your opinion. But I said, go on the forums. There's a million of
Oh,
them,
you cheated!
and buy an Epson 5040 and only use it in SDR for $600. So that's my cheat.
Cheater!
Got to get that $5,000 price point.
Cheater!
I'm realistic here.
Cheater!
I want that matching surround system in the Behringers for the audio, and then I'm getting a display that looks really good for a everyday price. You go on the forums and buy
He
it right
looked me
now.
in the eye and we agreed. No used equipment.
I couldn't.
And then he
There's
goes
no
and it's like, I gotta have my
It's
Epson. I
it's
gotta have
impossible.
my
It's
precious.
impossible to hit 5,000 price point if you want an 11-channel system. What are you gonna do? I'm gonna buy
A
like a
TV.
19-inch TV. That's what I'm gonna have in there. Is a 19-inch TV.
19?
There's
What
no
are we in,
money.
like
There's no money. By the
1987?
time you buy 2 subs and you have 11-channel speakers, you got nothing left.
Well, yeah.
So
Oh, you
you're
had to
saying I
have your
should have
2
just like
subs? You
watered
had to
down the
have your 2
audio?
subs. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to buy a new projector right now and 5,000 wasn't a limit, I'm probably going to recommend to most people that JVC NP5 that's on sale for $4,000. That's a heck of a
That's
projector for
pretty good.
$4,000.
It's pretty good. Doesn't come with a mount though.
No,
Got to
or a
consider that.
screen. If you buy that alone, you're at $5,000 though. By the time you get a screen and that projector, well,
Well, no. I mean, you could get a,
close. You're
if
close to your limit.
acoustically transparent, maybe,
Mhm.
but you could get a, how much is a silver ticket?
They're like $550 now. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was talking
What?
about earlier. There's no cheap screens
Oh
anymore.
my gosh. I didn't
Not for
realize
acoustic
that.
transparent. Yeah. So yeah, you can be mad at me, but you can go on AVS forum right now and buy an Epson 5040 for $600. That seems reasonable. That's a good projector for $600.
Where are you seeing those for $600?
Used.
Even used.
New, I paid $1,100 for mine new. It was refurbed, but that's what I paid from Epson directly, Epson.com. So used is half that basically. And now the thing came out in 2017 or something. It's got some age on it, so you can get them for $600.
I'm sus. Cheating. Throwing unacceptable pricing out here just to make his theater work.
It still doesn't work, but it's close.
God.
What would you do for your display? Well, you already told me you do this. Well, you'd switch to
TV.
LG. Yeah, OLED.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about, is there anything, would you do one of the Chinese like lifestyle projectors to kind of keep the price down?
No.
No.
Absolutely not.
Have
No,
you
I'd
read
rather have a
anything on that
TV.
Valerian that they're coming out with? Either there's a heck of a lot of hype on there, or there's something to it because
I
there's
have
people who have
yet
it
to
in hands now.
see measurements from like a non spider or something. I've yet to see any measurements really from not from a light meter, like from a spectro or colorimeter, like from a good one, not from a
So
something else.
in the thread, and I don't know if you followed the last few days, but in the thread there are now a couple people that have measured them, and they're on fire. I mean, they're
Measured them with what and how?
so. Let me pull up the name because Simple Home Cinema or something like that is a reviewer who's reviewed a lot of stuff, and he has one of the beta test units, which there's a little question there. Are they shipping out something that's like a golden sample thing? Is it real? I don't know. But
Is it laser dimming though?
Smart Home Hookup. I'm sorry, Smart Home Hookup has one, and then a guy named Fenceman on ABS Forum, and both those guys have been around the block in regards to projectors, and they're
But
saying
wasn't
it's the
there
real
some
deal.
questions about laser dimming and what it was doing and how dim everything was going to be during those measurements?
So they are saying, in practical purposes, with real world content, like Fenceman has had a NZ7, he's had an Epson LS 12,000,
Mm-hmm.
and he likes currently his favorite projector previously was the BenQ W5800. Am I saying that right? I think that was the model number.
Mm-hmm.
Like the basically the best BenQ. So he's had a good JVC, the best Epson before the QB 1000, and the best BenQ, and he says this beats all three of them. That's his opinion. And he's putting it out there saying like it's measuring 15,000 to 1 contrast in dynamic, which is nice. It's better than the Epson. It's closing in on JVC.
This just sounds really weird to
It
come from a
sounds far
single chip
fetched.
DLP.
It sounds far fetched, but it's triple laser, so it's getting higher color saturation than most of the different options. Has a nice remote.
Mm,
Has Dolby Vision. It has dynamic HDR. It has a 1/4 inch camera thread projector mount, which is super dumb to me. Like, why do you have that? Because they spin, like
something
1/4 inch
fishy
mount.
seems going on here.
Triple laser, all the fancy features, HDR 10 plus, Dolby Vision. Like, basically they're just saying the smart home guy and the Fenceman fella are just saying this is the real deal. Like they did it. That's a revolution. And I hate even saying this because I don't hardly believe it myself, but I'm just repeating what they're saying.
The last time this happened, though, was the LG,
And that was crap.
and it was crap.
So yeah, guard your.
And the same things were being said.
Yes, they were. But that doesn't have
Same
laser
things.
sparkle. So like a lot of things that kind of went wrong with the LG, they say it's got good uniformity. The black levels are really like sharp. They're just saying like it's nice.
We'll see.
Look, I like this comment from MW, and it just moved on me. He said, "Just get the black swans and say they're a couple $1,000s used, and
Yeah,
that's
they
it."
were on sale yesterday for $3,000.
I missed an opportunity. I
They were
should have done
90%
exactly that.
off.
I should have said your system verbatim, like down the line. $5,000. Oh,
Oh,
MW, where were
man.
you yesterday? You should have told me about this. This is funny.
That would have been funny. That would have been good. So we did screens, surround speakers.
None in my living room system, and in my home
Yeah.
theater system, the 212 XL. So what'd you do?
So I did, turn that down a little bit. I did the Martin Logan MC6 HTs. They're angled in ceilings.
Okay.
And they use this. I did that because they're the same tweeter as the B10. So you'd have the same
Matched.
sound
I wasn't
representation.
sure from the tweet.
Close enough. I mean, it's not a box speaker. You could put a backer on it, but same tweeter. They're angled. They're directional. It's a compromise. I realize that. But it's going to be much better than a normal down firing and ceiling. And I did that because, Jonathan, you and I agreed that it was open concept. There was nowhere to put a normal surround speaker, no in walls. We said wife approval factor wasn't going to allow anything on the couch or anything on stands. So
I got to tell you, at first blush, if I hadn't heard a system like this that was done fairly well, I'd probably like revolt against this and just say it's crap. But I have heard a system. One of the locals has his ceilings and his surrounds in the ceiling, and I'm not going to say it's as good as the surrounds where they
No.
should be. No, I'm not saying that, but I am saying it's passable. Like it was actually enjoyable. We watched a
Mhm.
movie over there, and it's enjoyable.
But did he also have Atmos
I don't. I'm trying to think. It's been a few years since
or
I've been over
top
there.
speakers? Because he would have had Atmos. It was just, does he have top speakers?
I don't think he does.
And I
If he
think
does,
that's
it
the
might be in the
important
middle.
part.
Mhm.
Because if you put top speakers up there, there's no separation. So you start to think of everything that's coming from up there is height channels.
Yeah.
But I think it can absolutely be passable in normal base layer systems.
I think
For sure.
that's what I remember him having. Again, it's been a couple years since I've been over there, but he had some nice like do it yourself giant towers for his speakers and his subs, and then his surrounds, like his LCR were like big huge
Mhm.
speakers in the front wall, and then his surrounds, like his surrounds and his surround backs were ceiling placed, like in wall ceiling. And at first glance, I was, I mean, I'm just being honest here. I was thinking this isn't gonna be that great, but whatever, it's fun. We'll go and have a good evening, just visiting with everybody. But it wasn't terrible. Like I'm not, yeah. So I'm not. I'm saying I don't discount what you're saying, but I might have discounted it if it had been 3 years ago.
So what would you do for surrounds?
Oh well, I mean, in my 2-channel living room, there's no surrounds.
No, not in the 2-channel living room.
In the basement,
I just assumed
in the
Megan threw those
dedicated
away.
theater or whatnot, it is the 212 XLs, those Behringers that are true reference capable.
I'm imagining you now in like an open concept living room, and these Behringer 2X12s are sitting like right here
No,
next to
like
Jonathan.
if you guys pull those up,
Just
you'll think those are
right here.
embarrassingly ugly. So no one would put them in the living room.
Pull them up.
212 XL. I'll pull them up. Let me get them pulled up first. Yeah, I mean they got like a giant yellow caution sign. I mean they're just like Behringer. Come on, you can make a prettier speaker than that. Here, is it showing?
Those are awful.
They're
I
really
remember
awful.
these.
So it's like giant plastic
I love
chassis with
the
like this
Behringer
metal
triangle. That makes it even more heinous.
Yeah, I mean, and this like classless Behringer sticker on there. That
It's awful.
yeah,
Awful.
it is awful looking, but it sounds really good. And like I said, there's an entire thread with like thousands and thousands of posts of people liking them. And that's really kind of pricey, but here they are for 160, like what I talked about, the 212 XLs. So, yeah.
Look at this quote from 314 Carpenter. I visited a guy who put floor standing speakers in his ceiling between the floor joists for his top Atmos speakers.
I applaud him.
That's dedication. I'm just visualizing myself putting black swans in the ceiling.
So
with like the horns hanging down like decorational chandeliers.
Uh-huh. So in the comments, Tim, one of our Kansas City enthusiasts, said, show the Mackie C200. I'll show that. Because that is an actual competitor to the Behringer. And I like them a little bit better, but unfortunately, they're just not as cheap. So they got hit by the COVID inflation price, and I can't really recommend them at their current price because they shot up so much in price.
Mm-hmm.
So here those are. They're a little better looking. They're still a plastic speaker, but they didn't go with like I don't know, which is worse, a running man. Mackie's symbol is a running man. Like that's not any good either, but at least they're not quite as dopey as the Behringer as far as looks.
They're still pretty dopey.
Okay. I'm not putting them in a living room.
It's really the yellow sticker on the Behringer that makes it the worst. God, that's bad.
Yeah, it's not good. Okay.
They do give you a carrying handle. That is nice.
Stop sharing here.
So should we do another price point for next time? Somebody suggested 20K.
That could be fun. That gives you a
20K?
little bit more freedom. I don't have to use projectors on there and stuff.
Cheater.
We didn't talk about Subwoofer. That's one thing.
Oh yeah, Subwoofers.
What did you choose?
Yeah. What did I choose? I chose the SVS PB2000 Pro
Nice choice.
is what I chose.
So for the living room setup, I chose, again, aesthetic related, the micro subwoofer. It's a micro 3000. It has dual eights. It cuts off at about 30 hertz, but it's a living room setup, and it's going to be enough for a living room setup, in my opinion. And I'm going to direct you somewhere completely different in your dedicated room.
Jonathan, this is not you.
It's
This
piano
is
gloss black. My
Oh my
wife,
gosh.
it's
This is not you.
it's less than 1 foot cubed in any direction, so it's small. I mean, it's as far
I
as
feel
like
like I'm
small
not doing
subwoofers
this
go, it's
stream with
not terrible.
Jonathan.
I Again, not a reference capable system.
I
I said
wholly
that from square
expected
one.
Jonathan in a living room system to be like, here, dual 18, build it yourself. 10 cubic foot ported box.
I don't. Why do you not like the little micro sub? Besides, it's not
I
being
think
reference
it's
capable.
fine. It's
And
just not you. I am disappointed.
yeah, all right. Well, aesthetically, my
Disappointed.
wife won't let. I have a. You know what I have in my room right now? An 8-inch Pioneer, like a single 8-inch ported Pioneer, and it is really bad. But my wife won't let me put a big one in there. I have a nice Yamo 12-inch that's like a D650 version or something like that. It's like a decent subwoofer. It goes down to 20 hertz. It's 12-inch driver. Megan says, nope. If you can see it, I don't want it. So she makes
You
me have this
have
little 8-inch driver in there.
dual
Dual 8.
of those JBL 18 ported boxes. They should be sitting next to your OLED, Jonathan.
Oh, that's funny.
They were in your living room for a time.
The only for like just to show them off for the M-Wave people, because it was such a deal. I got such a deal on those. That was
You
wild.
work from home. Megan takes the girls somewhere.
Oh
Those
man.
come back into the house.
There was not
They
happy
sit.
feelings from her about me having those in my living room.
And then you even have the poles for the speakers. You have reference capability from your left and your right in your living room. And here's Jonathan. Hey guys, I got a dual 8-inch under 1 cubic foot box for my living room. That is not you.
It's
What
not
is
my
this?
preference. My preference is reference capable, but this one is not that. It's just a nice, aesthetically pleasing, reasonable system that I could be happy with for a living room.
I know Randy's like Pioneer sub.
Randy,
is
it's not my
this?
first choice. Let me tell you. I wanted a subwoofer in there, and Megan was like, nothing I can see, and I had to get something small. And so
Hover platform. She doesn't see that.
that's not a terrible idea.
I mean,
Next time
build
you
the
come over.
18s into the floor.
Is the couch moving, John? No.
Gallahorns in your ceiling.
I love that. In fact, my wife loves that. I'm just not as crafty as Doug is. My wife said, if you want to do something like Doug did to his living room, you can do that. And I was thinking, like, I wish I had the skills.
Doug.
Doug isn't free. You have to pay Doug.
No,
for
you
these
do
things.
have to pay Doug. You do have to pay Doug.
And
But
what we're talking about, we should link that in chat because it's such an impressive build.
oh my gosh, it is an experience. I felt like I was on the water.
Mm-hmm. Do we have good pictures in here? We do. I have some pictures I can share on that. Oh, dang photo bucket.
Oh no.
It's got the little watermarks on it, but we'll just do a little
That's
bit of show
okay.
here. So those who have been in Kansas City or gone through some of the Kansas City crawls can attest. This room is really something remarkable. And it's like, all right, here's what it was originally before he did anything with it. And here's one picture because the rest of them went bad. But where you ended up. So these are covered with a nice speaker grill that's the same color as the drywall. It's just a white speaker cloth, so you can't see them normally. It's like a stealth install. Right here and right here are two 18-inch horn subwoofers. Gallahorns, in fact, which are one of the most capable subwoofers ever measured down to like, I don't know, like, I don't even remember what they're tuned to, but it's very low. And one of the most capable on database ever. And they're in his attic. So he has them ported into his living room. And they will make that place pound. It is really remarkable. Is there better?
It's scary.
Here? Here's how complicated the box is that he designed. Doug makes good quality boxes. But
Yeah,
look
he
at this
built the
path,
50.
this horn path. It's got an LMS 5400, which is considered the best 18-inch driver ever made, and it's got one in each horn. And then, like, oh, good, there are some pictures in here as I scroll down. Like, they had to figure out how to get those things up into the attic.
They built a ramp and dragged them in.
Yeah, here it is. They built this ramp to go up into the attic space over the living room and drug them in, actually using my
Can you
winch.
imagine having that conversation with Megan? Hey, I got to tear our ceiling apart so I can drag 2 subwoofers into the attic.
Yes.
Is that necessary? Entirely.
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 Absolutely. This is my winch. I had a small part to play in this by loaning him my winch. His skills are mad. Amazing. Like, look, he built this out so that he could have that little, like, nice thing. This is the boxes for his surround speakers that are up high. You can kind of see them built into the different areas here. There's the sub box breathing into the living room, pouring its bass magic in. There's a lot of pictures here. Look, I got more than I thought I did. So, any rate, if you ever come to Kansas City and you want to see a well done living room setup,
and he's doing, they're not operational right now, but dual 24s for near field in the basement.
Yes, which is like a sea of bass that washes over you like waves.
A man after my own heart. And for anybody that doesn't know, I know I mentioned this briefly earlier. This is the same Doug that did the 50 cabinet that's in the Mad VR Experience Center.
And you should pull up, if you have a picture of the bracing he did on that thing. My gosh, man.
Sure. Let me see if I can find it. And then we got to answer questions. Let's see. Bracing.
Oh, and in the basement, while you're pulling that up, since my living room had the little, you were disappointed.
Yeah.
8-inch drivers. I'm going with a dual drive HSU system. And
that's a good idea.
At the price point, I couldn't get to the top of the line HSUs, but you can get a dual drive HSU VMK5 HP, which is a nice 15-inch setup they have, and it's $1,800 for 2 of them shipped. I'm a fan of HSU products. They're maybe not the prettiest things in the world compared to something like a gloss SVS, but they really perform well, and they're inexpensive on the realm of the internet direct market. And Dr. Shu is awesome, so like great.
So that's the bracing for the 50.
Yeah, that's so ridiculous, man. It's so impressive, and the size of that box, like that box is humongous. Like, what's the dimensions on it?
It is 71 inches tall, 68 inches wide, and 48 inches deep. And it weighs 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
He pocket screwed everything. We went through like 3 gallons of glue on this thing.
Yeah.
Maybe more than that.
And this isn't all CNC cut. This is Doug cut.
No, this is
like hand cut. He's a craftsman.
This is done using a track saw. Cuts were done in the garage. Then we had to assemble it in the basement. It took 20 sheets of 3/4-inch Baltic birch with like 1 sheet of waste. It was, I think it's one of the best subwoofers ever made. But it's, it's a monster. We built it because Jeffrey, the owner and designer for Ascendo, effectively said, after I told him that we had to rebuild the cabinet, make it bigger. So we did. 2 times the size of the original cabinet. So we have no idea what the excursion limits are. And yeah, Doug's the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
Good guy.
He really is.
Huge talent. And he works his butt off to make amazing things. And
he builds theaters. So like put a small plug out for Doug. Like if you want to have a theater built, like that's his side
and
job.
He's a firefighter.
He's like firefighter EMT on the day job, and then moonlights as a home theater creator.
Question time. I'm not starring any more questions because Jonathan said we had an hour and we're going to go over that.
I'm tired, fellas. Like I enjoy this, but we could go on all night, and
we did last time.
An hour is good for me tonight.
Okay, here we go.
We're at an hour. What just happened to our hour?
Okay. I don't know.
It's okay.
I say you. I keep talking. Mad VR, can I send it Dolby Vision from a home theater PC, and can it render it properly? So you have to do LLDV. That's the only thing you can do
They
right
don't
now.
know what LLDV is, or not the rank and file. There's some that will. What's LLDV? Low latency Dolby Vision.
What's your limitation? MadVR doesn't support Dolby Vision. Honestly, we don't really see the need to. I can maybe see why it would be beneficial. We might support it eventually, but we don't right now, outside of low latency Dolby Vision. Kevin says, how good is the M4 really? Apple are great at marketing, but during testing, it rarely confirms. So this was actually confirmed in Cinebench. There's Cinebench scores out there. This wasn't done through Apple marketing. This is done through reviewers. So as far as I know, I don't have mine. It was time for me to get another one, so I traded mine in. It's not out yet. So this was the generation that I pulled the trigger on. So maybe I'm trying to inflate my own boat to make myself feel like I'm not wasting money, but we'll see. Schmock 91. Jonathan, what hertz does bass I Love You go down to?
7 hertz, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
Encyclopedia of knowledge.
I'm probably wrong.
Encyclopedias are wrong periodically.
I'm going to Google that and make sure I'm right in the meantime. Go ahead.
Gary Pye, 5 HSU CCB8s and 1 HSU TN1 for around $3K. Find a used AVR and a projector. So he went all shoe.
There's nothing wrong with that. They're little like coax 8s they sell. They're a nice speaker. I've heard them at Exponent.
I personally don't like the way they sound. Kind of goes down the Kef train, but that doesn't mean they're bad. I just subjectively don't like them. They're good speakers. I just subjectively don't like them. Like some of you probably subjectively don't like me. That's okay. Margaret Wood, what do you guys think about the Dangby D-Box 02 or Xgimi Horizon Ultra? One will be gonna be my starter projector. Can't really afford higher end and want laser. I'm laser bum. Don't want to change bulbs. Didn't the bend?
I'm close on the bass I Love You. I'm reading online at 6 hertz, so I said 7.
What was the? You're still wrong. What was the?
And then this one says 7, so I'm right. It depends on which article you read.
He's just trying to make himself feel better.
Frequency of bass I Love You, 7 hertz.
He edited his own Wikipedia article to change it to 7.
No, I'm right. There we go. Go ahead.
Was it the Xgimi that was at M-Wave this year? What did Pixel Pusher bring?
I wasn't in love with that projector.
They liked it.
A lot of love, but I wasn't in love with that one.
They liked it.
I'm going to bite my tongue right now. Let's move on.
Okay. Do you like those two projectors? Do you know anything about them?
I don't know.
Would you choose anything about them?
And I think the Ximi was what we had at M-Wave. Was that right? Let's look it up and look what
I don't know.
Ximi
I never got to go in that room, really.
Is that posted on the M-Wave site still, by chance?
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm not even going to say if I've seen this because I don't remember if that's the one that we saw at M-Wave or not.
I personally, if I was trying to get into the lower price points, would do a Epson 5040 and eat the bulb and not be stuck on this laser bum thing, because you're going to be able to watch for longer than you think. And if you have to buy a bulb eventually, it's not that big of a deal.
And that 5040 is still
really good,
really competitive in SDR. Don't even try HDR; you'll be disappointed. But SDR is really nice.
And the other important part is that if you're ever ready to resell it, it'll maintain its value because of that reputation. Probably won't lose anything. Yeah, what you just said. Good question. Paul R. Can OLEDs handle cold if I put a C9 in my garage? It almost never goes below 30 degrees in the winter. I'm in Wisconsin.
There are limits to our knowledge, Paul.
It almost never goes below 30 degrees. You are a liar.
OLED, coldest operating temperature. Coldest operating temperature.
I'm just imagining him now in Wisconsin, and the OLED has frozen.
The coldest operating temperature for most OLED displays is around negative 40 degrees F. So, yeah, 30 degrees
which is the same as negative 40 Celsius. So you should be fine. I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm reading online. You're
I
good.
may worry a little bit about condensation behind the glass. I guess that should be.
I wonder about the capacitors and so forth. Like the OLED might be able to operate at that temperature if it's warm, but do the capacitors start having trouble on
I don't
those
know.
things at
I don't
those
know.
low temperatures?
Cold is not great on electronics. Cold's really not great on anything.
Cold hot cycles are probably even worse when you're
Yeah.
like warming up, cooling down.
Paul, I'd say you could probably do it. I don't know how long it would last.
Listen, like he loves OLED so much he wants one for his garage. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, he's got a C9, so that would be my understanding that he's got one already.
Hmm.
I think he should test it and let us all know.
Hmm.
That's what I think he should do.
Hmm.
Right, Paul? You're the test case. Do it for all of us.
Take
I
one
want to
for
know.
the team.
Maybe he won't. Maybe it'll run forever. Willie Elres. Is it fair to say there are some LED LCDs that are better than many projectors, but the projector wins because it's bigger? So I'd say same argument for some LCDs over OLEDs.
Good LED LCDs, and he's strictly leaving out OLEDs in that comment, right? So
Yeah.
like yeah, I mean, I think that's fair to say. I mean, you could probably say that there's
Would you take a 100 if you weren't doing acoustically transparent? Would you take a 100-inch TCL over a projector?
I'm not a big fan of those TCLs from what I've seen them. Like the off-angle viewing's bad. It's got that VA panel in there and kind of turns
Yeah.
purple when you're off angle.
They are really bad.
I'm not a big fan of that, and I don't like the local dimming. Like projectors don't have that so much. The local dimming stuff kind of drives me bonkers. So I'm
Yeah.
probably a pass on that.
You're hard on the OLED thing. If
I'm
an OLED
a
got to that price,
diehard
which
for it.
it's at 100, but it's still really expensive. You're saying if it comes down price point wise, you will switch.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm cheap, so it's gonna have to come down a lot.
Micro sub in the living room.
I will switch.
I will put a micro sub in my living room. So would you say the same qualifies a big LCD versus a smaller OLED?
I would pick the smaller OLED.
You would?
I would.
I'm reading comments to make sure I'm not missing anything.
A big. Are we talking about the right things here? Are we understanding his comment? Would you? Because my projector's an LCD, so I'm not gonna pick. I'm not gonna pick a small OLED in here. Over
No. What he's saying is, would you pick a smaller LCD LED TV over a bigger projector for color fidelity?
No.
Or for fidelity in general?
No.
And then does that same logic apply for bigger LCDs against smaller OLEDs?
All right.
He's saying,
I don't even know how to answer this question because there's too many caveats.
Would you trade a different type of display that had a better picture but was smaller?
No, and here's why. Have you and you try this test in your room and see what you think? I've taken this projector. I think I've talked about this before, maybe on one of the Youth Man ones. I've taken this projector and I've dialed it down to 85 inches just to see if I could like tolerate like an 85-inch.
I can't.
OLED.
I'm at my minute. I can't get it any smaller.
Well, and I'll just tell you, there's no way. When I dropped this from 144 down to 85 inch, I'm like, nah, get out of here. Not happening. So that's why I was saying, like on the other podcast, like if it gets up to like 115, 120, then I might be interested because 144 to 120, okay, that's not the end of the world. 144 to 85 is like wah wah.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
But would you do like a 85-inch TV versus 65 or something like that?
I mean, I think
LCD, would you do an 85-inch LCD versus 65-inch OLED?
No, OLED's too good.
Yeah.
Too good.
That's the difference, guys, is that there's not as much of a difference between an LED LCD TV and a projector, a decent projector, against an LCD TV and an OLED. It's different values, right? One is exponentially better than the other, and they're a lot closer. Still better, but closer. You do have some compromises with local dimming zones and stuff that I can't get behind at all. Effie Rogner. For Rogner. I how pronounce that some way. Panasonic UB820 or PS5?
I don't like a PS5 for the controllers. That drives me crazy. Did they come out with an actual regular remote for the PS5? Do you know?
I don't know.
I tried using my PS4 as a Blu-ray player at one point, and every time I'd get it all queued up, and every time I'd set the controller down on the couch or whatever, it'd like fast forward or start like stopping or
It
whatever.
wanted
'Cause
to be an Apple remote.
the triggers were doing stuff. Like stop it. You have to like very carefully set it down and not touch anything. I was like, no, not doing this.
Yeah. The only way that I would do the 820 is if I was on a TV. If I need Dolby Vision. If I don't, I'm going to do a UB420.
You're right.
Um,
Or if you have one of the EDID hacks where you're introducing Dolby Vision LLDV and you're tricking it to think that you have Dolby Vision, and am I thinking of that backwards?
I don't understand the point of that.
Because if it's mastered in Dolby Vision and your player can send it, so in this case, I was thinking about right. If you had a projector like mine that doesn't support Dolby Vision, and you wanted to have Dolby Vision, you can have a player, a source, the UB820 that sends Dolby Vision. The EDID
I
then
get that.
tricks the display to say it's Dolby Vision, and I can get a 300 nit master sent to my projector.
You know what we need to do?
Test it.
We need to do a comparison.
You're right.
Of Dolby Vision versus not Dolby Vision.
You're right.
We need to do this and see how much of a difference there actually
because
is.
now, like the Epson LS12000 supports HDR10 plus.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of media where you can like go either way. You can pick one of the two, and at that point, aren't you kind of getting more or less? If you go to someone like Stop the FOMO, he'll say there's distinct differences, but you're getting closer to the same thing at that point.
But it's like, I feel like it's saying something like, well, you see this pixel right here, and it's supposed to be a luminance of this, and it's actually this, and this is what Dolby Vision's giving. Not that FOMO sounds like that because he doesn't. This is just
right.
The example I'm giving you.
Your pixel.
I want to test this. I want to test this and see if we can actually tell.
Mm-hmm.
I got two C3s sitting right here.
Do you?
Yeah. I got a C3 here and a C3 here.
I like this idea.
We should do this.
What's happening with your hands?
I'm pointing at the camera and it's something. Something's happening. We should test that. That's why I got these. Then we can test Envy against Dolby Vision and all this stuff. Because then you just do an Apple TV on one and an Apple TV on the other, and they're totally separated, and do whatever and see what happens. And then we could pull out the 420. Well, do you have an 820? Somebody in Kansas City has an 820.
But I'm sure they're around.
Somebody does. And we could see where it goes. Okay. We're doing it.
Idea.
I got to figure out a time.
I'm so far back on comments.
I told people no more stars, so I've
okay.
Lewis Holloway says, hello, $5K to spend on a projector and screen. This is unrelated to our topic. Epson 5050 UB and a Stewart SEMA. 115.
I don't know the Stewart SEMA screen, do you?
SEMA is the entry-level Stewart. It is a step below the normal Studio Tech stuff.
Have you seen those? The SEMAs?
I think
fine. I mean, I know the Epson 5050 is $2,500. Are you going to spend $2,500 on an entry-level screen? That doesn't make sense to me.
On a 115-inch screen.
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, I don't know anything about that screen, so I'm not bad-mouthing it. I'm just saying $2,500 is too much to spend on the screen, in my opinion, for 115. Huh?
Seymour AV.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because I think you can get I can tell you. Hold on.
And Ryan doesn't like it when I utter this word, but used market is something you can consider.
I can get a used screen for $1.50, free shipping. That's what he's going to say. Somebody paid me to take it.
Just got to drive around Kansas City and look at all
the
on trash day.
Terrible. God. $600, 50, 40.
No,
The hell is
I'm being
that?
half serious and half joking. I have a
Whatever.
144-inch Seymour XD screen. I paid $400 for it because I bought it used.
Yeah, but how long was that? Like 97 years ago?
That was a long time ago, but what difference does that make? This kind of deals exist. So why would I pay 2,400? Why would I pay $2,500 if I can just go on the used market? If it's perfectly white, I mean, what if it's a used screen? What difference does it make? As long as it's still white and doesn't have like Cheeto fingerprints on it, it still works.
Yeah. So Stewart does the 115 diagonal. You can get a 115 diagonal precision, which is a 2.6-inch frame. I think, what's that, like 105 inches wide? 100 inches wide is 115 diagonal. The precision screen, I think this is shipped, is $1,100 from Seymour. So under half. That's what I would do. And that's an in-game screen. Like, you don't really have to upgrade that, in my opinion. Would you agree?
I was reading comments. I trust you.
Somebody does. That's what I would do. Seymour AV. And 5050 is a great projector. I don't have any problem with that.
Okay. Yeah.
Ryan from MW. Are you looking forward to getting a software update on the Christie with dynamic black contrast improvements? Yes.
What? What's
It's going to
this?
be magnificent.
The
Christie
one?
next year is going to introduce laser dimming.
Nice.
And supposedly, I won't go into detail about it, there's some cool things that they're going to do that it's supposedly going to make it amazing. We'll see. See how it turns out.
They must have been talking with Valerian, like this marketing team. They did some cross-pollination.
Now I'm just imagining looking back in like a Dolby theater at AMC and there's a Valerian projector shooting through the glass. I hope I'm wrong, guys. I hope I am wrong because the industry needs innovation. The industry needs this stuff. But that's a really cheap price point for a lot of stuff. It's got all this stuff and it just...
And a 1/4-inch projector mount, threaded mount, that just kind of like makes me suspicious of the whole thing, to be quite honest.
That just kind of strange. Just kind of strange. So, Paul, last question. Jonathan, what is the total cost of your DIY 18 Ultimaxes?
Man, I can't really answer you very
$4.
Well. You're probably looking at if you just want a wooden box with paint, you're probably looking at $250 for the box, and that's generous. Like,
is that him buying the box?
That's making it yourself,
or making the whole thing
to
himself.
Make a square box yourself. You can get like a jigsaw, and you're good to go. You know, like one tool. You're not even $250. Like that's being kind of outrageous to build it yourself. You're gonna get some nice birch plywood. You're gonna get some screws. You get some PL glue. You're gonna get some stuffed pillows and rip them apart. Some netting, and then drop those drivers in there, and paint it with Duratex. Like, it won't be the prettiest thing in the world. It'll be like truck liner, but that's all like $250. And then the driver itself. I bought these 3 UM1822 version 2s for $265 a piece, I think, because I waited until there's a 15% off coupon. And they're on a $300 sale price or something. So I think they were like $265 a piece. So you're looking at a little over $500 before amp. And the amplifier, I strongly recommend the Behringer NX 6000D, 1 channel per driver. That amp is $450 right now. And if you wait for the next holiday, there will be a 15% off discount code, as there always is, and you can get them for like $385. So you're looking at for 1 channel, 1 sub, 1 box. You're probably looking all in. What is that like? You can't really do it that way. Let's say 2 of them, because that makes it easier. It's like $1,000 probably ish.
Plus your time.
Yeah. Am I saying that right? No, it'd be $1,500, right? Because we got $250 per box. Let's say $250 per box, $250 for sub. So that's $1,000. Mm-hmm. And then and then an amp to drive them is $450. So $1,500 for 2 of them. That sure beats. I mean, if you want to put the time in to build it, that's going to beat anything that you can.
And it scales. So the more you do, the cheaper they get.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So last question, because this came up. Why not get a Pro 2 review sample sent to you instead of hating on Valerian?
That's fair. That's a fair
But I
question.
don't think we're hating on Valerian. It's that we're suspicious given the history of this space.
And the yes, perfectly put. I was going to add on, but you said it. There's been a lot of false starts over the last decade in the projector space. A lot.
Not even just the projector space. There's been a lot of promises, not even just in this industry, in many industries, where guys, we can do all this stuff. Look what the reviewers are saying. Look at all this. And then it doesn't
Tim,
work.
Get us a Pro 2 review sample and we'll do it.
I will do it.
We'll set up a video. We'll compare it to whatever you want it. But we don't have any contacts with Valerian.
No, I will absolutely do it. It will go sit next to the Christie Griffin.
They don't want it compared to $100,000 projector.
It can go on a Mad VR. I will make that thing look as good as it can possibly look.
Realistically, we could compare it to a QB1000 maybe, or my LS12000, which is probably more in the ballpark of what they want to have it compared to.
Or I can put it up against the Optima that is upstairs in a drawer, and we can make it look like a god tier
they would smoke it.
Projector. Optima's sitting there providing its own bias lighting.
Look, we're not necessarily hating on it. We're just suspicious. We're jaded. We've been burnt a few times. That's what it is.
I am happy. And you guys have seen me do this before, to put my foot in my mouth when I'm wrong and admit that this thing was actually different than what it was. And I will fully do that. I don't care. I'm here to make sure that people get what they think they're getting. And I do not like speculating and saying this is going to be the next amazing thing when, given the history of home theater, audio, video, and hi-fi, it's not happening. I mean, look at all these videos. I'm thinking of like that video with the, what's that video? With the,
I got nothing.
Like the best hi-fi system or 2-channel system ever. And he's got those like schmuck magnets sitting around, and they create this force field, and he's got rubies in his tape deck and all this other stuff. And it's like, there's a lot of promises in this. I know that was extreme, but there's a lot of promises in this industry about this is going to make it better. And I think part of this, and I am not saying that this is what the reviewers are doing, but I know this is what happened with the LG projector, because I am guilty of it. When you get something and you wholeheartedly believe or want something to be a certain way, your brain will make it so. We are so heavily influenced by subjective bias that if you do not put yourself in an objective position to account for every variable, you will find a way subconsciously to make a result happen. It's gonna happen.
I kind of agree.
And I'm not saying that that's what these reviewers are doing.
You kind of are.
It's something to be considered.
You kind of are.
I am, or the reviewers are doing
No,
it?
you kind of are. I mean, that's inference that they're probably maybe.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maybe they are. Maybe they're. I don't know. I'm just telling people to be skeptical. Don't just believe, even from us, just because we say something. That go verify on your own. Don't believe it just because we said it. I could be some schmuck that's just really good at lying. I mean, I know Jonathan is.
What?
Okay, this is where we leave it.
No, you're not leaving quite yet. I think that's kind of fun. A couple of the viewers gave us their recommendations. Let's throw them up there. Let's just. I didn't
see any of these. I've been on my.
So look at your starred comments and put a couple of them up there.
Okay.
We don't even really have to talk about them. We can just let them be seen so that people have a.
This one. Okay. 314. My entry into the 5K. 5.1 lifestyle home theater. Lifestyle. Challenge all. What does that mean? Challenge all JBL speakers in latte finish.
Oh, Google that and see what comes up. I'm still reading the comments.
I don't know what that is. 314. Why is this comment so complicating? I don't. JBL challenge all.
Man, there's a lot of people mad at me for saying something used in the comments here. Like, what?
I'm mad at you,
Huh.
schmuck. I don't know what this challenge is. JBL. I don't know what this is, Chris.
Chris will be still here.
He'll enlighten me
for us.
So then he says JBL MA1510 AVR, JMGO N1S Pro projector. What is that? Jimgo?
One of
if
those
I don't
little
have to
boxes
buy
we're
a
talking
screen, I'll
about,
switch to
but I
Onkyo
haven't seen it.
RZ50. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's good. I have no idea. And then Paul says, for my $3,200 living room system, because he probably bought a used projector, 7.2. What? You're worse than Jonathan. S90C used
that
Marantz.
Polk 10, I'm not behind. That Polk 10 is a piece of junk. I've measured that before. Don't get that. I'm telling you, Paul. Sorry if you have it. No offense meant, but it's a piece of junk. It's a bad piece of junk, like really bad piece of junk.
Jonathan doesn't like that subwoofer. 11 DIY speakers for $100. I mean, you could probably do that at that scale.
They wouldn't be reference capable at $100. I'll tell you that much.
But neither were the systems that we did.
Fair. That's fair.
But this is a living room system with DIY. Megan would not be happy.
No, she wouldn't be on board.
But that
maybe his wife is more accommodating to.
My wife just looks at me
in the living room.
And I know
how are you through all these comments? I'm still reading the comments.
I'm not. You just start them. I'm not reading the comments. I'm just talking to you.
I have a few more up there. Keep going.
You're starring them.
Okay.
My setup is used Yamaha A3080. Just scooped 2 PSA XV30 FSEs. So those are big boys. For $1,200 for both of them. Dang. Paradigm Studio Ref 60 V4s.
Nice. The power
and
of
a
you.
CC 590 center. And then Polks on the ceiling and an Epson 5040. He didn't say $600. He said $800. But
that's
you guys,
okay. It's in the ballpark.
I like how everybody's crapping on you for used, and then they're just giving us used.
Yeah, do it yourself, used. Come on,
I'm the only
now.
one that did this right and didn't do used. For Rogner says 9 Mica RB42s.
Do you know what those are?
A Mica speaker?
I don't know what those are.
I don't know what those are. Something that Mica makes. And then Skylake says Biamp DeSono DX S8 8-inch high output coaxial surface mount loudspeaker WHT. I like how it seems like as the price decreases, the naming scheme gets more complicating. It's like it's directly correlated. Whereas things go down, things get more complicating in models.
All right, I think I finally caught up in comments, and I don't see anyone else having recommendations, so I think we're caught up then.
Okay.
I had fun tonight, Ryan. Thanks.
You said an hour, and it's been an hour and a half.
Well, we always
close enough.
Blow through our
close enough. So we're gonna do 20K next time?
Yeah,
you think that's a good idea?
Now you're starting to get into something where you can like put together something.
Dedicated home theater or both again?
My recommendation in the living room is not going to change very much, so I'm probably more in the dedicated side on this one. But you could still do the living room if you want. This works well to have a little bit of disparate designs here.
Okay. I'll do a living room system and a home theater, but let's do both. And just equipment. We're not considering the room. This is just the equipment.
Yeah. Somebody in the comments I saw in there was like, does this include accessories? Because $5,000 is quite a lot to spend. And I hear you. Like, yeah, $5,000 is quite a lot to spend, but
It adds up
No, it
quick,
didn't
man.
include accessories tonight.
Things add up quick. When you start doing so many of these, like when you start needing 5 speakers, things start getting expensive quickly. And we're trying to avoid compromise. And if you have questions, like if somebody posts a question, $5,000 is a lot of money, and it is. If you've got questions about why we're doing that and considering it more entry level and why we started at $5,000, ask us, because there is a reason. And the biggest reason is you need that in order to avoid not getting just complete and utter crap.
Or something that you're going to want to upgrade from right away. Yeah. Even if it's not crap, you might just think like, all right, I'm ready for the next tier. And then you end up spending money that you didn't have to spend.
Steven says the wife approval factor on Sonos is high. I agree. I have Sonos in my living room, actually. Did you know that, Jonathan?
I think I knew you had that, but
there's a Sonos Arc in there now.
Nice.
It does well. I will not poo-poo on soundbars. I think they have a purpose. They have a place. And I use one. And the wife approval factor is strong. She still has space for her mantle decorations, and she is happy. No micro sub.
Huh. You'd rather have a soundbar than a micro sub. That doesn't make any sense.
No, I'd rather have a micro sub with the soundbar, but I'm stuck using the Sonos sub.
A 1-inch sub you could stick anywhere and hide it. It could be on the side of the couch and no one would ever see it.
Yeah, but I can't do it with Sonos.
I said 1 inch. Of course that would hide anywhere. I'm 1 foot sub is what I meant to say.
Pavel just dropped a super chat. This is the last thing and then we're leaving. Is it dumb buying a 77-inch S95D for $3.5K?
You're more familiar with the TV brands than me. Let me look up S95D.
I mean, what is the...
That's a Samsung Neo QLED. No, don't do that, man. Do an OLED.
That is an OLED.
It doesn't say OLED. It says Neo QLED. Unless my link was wrong. Oh, my link is wrong. The first one was a sponsored link. The second one does say OLED. Okay,
it's an OLED. It's
9 out of 10 on RTINGS, so it's a nice TV.
I mean, I personally would do the LG G4 for that price point. Best Buy has that right now for $3,500. I would do that.
When these Samsungs first came out, they kind of had a stronger red than the LGs did. Has that been changed, or is it still in that realm? Like the red was more capable on the Samsungs, if I remember correctly.
I think they calibrated better, but you'd need to calibrate them. At least the S95Cs. I don't know about the Ds, but judging by the TV shootout that was done with Value Electronics, the LG and the Sonys were top. So I would assume that they're better, but...
What do you think about RTINGS, that website review? Do you like them?
Don't know. I think they're fine.
Have you spent much time on that page?
Yeah, I've been there. I don't
even know. I'm looking up LG G4 to see how it compares. So they gave the Samsung a 9.0, and on the LG G4 they gave it a 9.2. So even RTINGS says it's a little better TV.
Ratings.
Yeah. There's no A in there, so I hesitate, but I guess that's probably what they're after. Ratings with no A is the website.
Artings. Ratings. Artings.
I like their site. I mean, their reviews are very full. Like they have everything under the sun they test, including the reflectivity, like motion, PWM. Like that's a good site in my opinion. Take a look at it if you haven't checked it out and read both reviews, see what you think afterwards. And thanks for the super chat, by the way.
Yep. Thanks, Pavel. And I do speak from experience on the LG G4. I've got one in my living room. I like it. Super bright. Does really well. Kids like it. Does well. I enjoy it. Wife approves. Okay. This is where we end it. 20K next week. Are we doing Friday or Saturday or Sunday?
I don't think I have anything on the book, so we could probably do either way, whichever suits better for you. Let's talk about it offline and figure it out.
Well, chat's got to know. Do I have anything Friday? Let's do Friday. Friday.
Sounds good to me.
Friday. Okay. Thanks, guys. I've enjoyed it. Taking too long. Jonathan said an hour, but here we are at an hour and a half.
And you're
See you
still
guys next
talking.
weekend. I know, 20K. I always do this. 20K home theater. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen,